Good evening. Design Review Board 2 public meeting of March 26, 2009 is called to order. Please refrain from talking amongst yourselves during the meeting, and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones and pagers. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak, including applicants, is asked to completely fill out one of the speaker's cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. You will be called to present a case or speak on a specific item as desired. Anyone who wishes to be renoticed about a project must completely fill out one of the postcards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff to receive notice of subsequent meetings. Current DRB agendas are available by calling our DRB hotline at 818-548-3171 or by visiting our website at www.ci.glendale.ca.us. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and DRB reconsideration and appeals is available at the table by the front door. Please note that appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the DRB decision date. The chairperson may reorder agenda items at his or her discretion. Roll call. Mr. Carter.
Present.
Mr. Garagos.
Here.
Mr. Malikian.
Here.
Mr. Zarifian. Absent. And Mr. Baladian.
Here.
Great. Report regarding posting of the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on March 19th, 2009. Oral communications. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on an item not a part of this agenda? Do you have any cards?
We don't have any cards.
Okay. The next item is staff announcements. We do have one staff announcement. We'd like to introduce the new Design Review Board 2 board member. He's Mr. Jean-Pierre Baladian. He's been a resident of Glendale for about 20 years, and he's the owner and president of a design and construction group in actually Pasadena. He graduated from Pasadena City College and Woodbury University in Bachelor of Architecture. And if you want to say any more, you certainly can.
Thank you. I look forward to help the city, and we'll have fun, like everyone said. Laughing, but we'll see.
Great. Well, we appreciate you being here. Thanks.
Thank you.
That is the only staff announcement we have. We have nothing on the consent calendar, and we're down to our just the regular calendar. We have one item.
Thank you, and welcome, Mr. Baladian. I'm sure you're going to enjoy this, as I have. Okay, so we have only one item on the agenda, and we'll just go ahead and... by the way, I only have one card. If anybody wants to speak, they need to fill out one of these white cards. If they're for or against whatever that you want to say about the project, you need to fill out one of these cards. We can start. The DRB number is 2 PDR 2009-001-A, 1719 Woodland Avenue.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The project before you, located at 1719 Woodland Avenue, is an addition of 796 square foot to an existing 1,044 square foot one-story single-family residence. The lot is 7,480 square foot, and the zone is R1 floor area ratio District 2. The building was constructed in 1939, and according to the city's historic planner, is not a resource under SICA and is not eligible for listing on the Glendale Register. The house is located, the existing house is located on the west half of the lot, and the addition is proposed to the east of the house. Currently, the site include that existing house and a detached garage at the back. The existing 25-feet setback remains untouched and unchanged since the proposed addition will be set back in relation to the existing house. The location of the proposed house is on the existing driveway pavement, and that will minimize the amount of landscaping which needs to be replaced. The changes to the landscape include the new 10-foot wide driveway and a walkway. Majority of homes in this neighborhood are located on the front of the lot with a detached garage at the rear. The subject house will have a wider facade as a result of the addition because the addition is proposed to the side of the house, but will remain appropriate to the neighborhood. New entrance door and the proposed addition being on a different plane than the existing house create modulation on the street front facade. The project relates well to the context of the neighborhood where majority of homes are one-story and occupy a large portion of the lot width. There will be no increase to the 16.5-foot height of the house, and the street front remains unchanged, the setback. The interior setback will be reduced to the east of the site, and that means that the house will, the detached garage on the adjoining lot will be impacted. But the detached garage and the setback separate the neighbor house and the proposed addition, and that minimizes the impact of the addition. On the west and the north, there will be no reduction in the setbacks, and that together with the fact that the height of the house will not be increased will minimize any impact from the proposal. The front facade of the building will be maintained, and the entrance door will be relocated from the side to the front. The tan vinyl window is proposed for the entire house, as well as the new shingle roofing for the whole of the house. Windows will be recessed with surround similar to the existing. The most noticeable new element of design is the base or stone base which wraps around the building. Since the house is very simple in design, it's minimal traditional, the vinyl window is appropriate and is not out of character in this case. There is a discrepancy between the elevation proposed and the rendering, and it should be corrected to clarify that the rendering is the correct finished elevation. Also, the elevation shows changes to the existing facade, while there is no change except for the new entrance and the addition. The facade will remain, the front facade will remain unchanged. Staff recommend approval of the project with following conditions. The proposed front elevation to be shown on the perspective drawing. The elevation drawing shall be modified to match this. Another thing that I meant to mention is that the lawn which is shown in the center of the driveway should continue to the end of the building as shown on the perspective drawing. The next condition is that just mentioned. The next condition is the elevation drawing shall be amended to show the true scope of the work. There will be no changes to the front elevation of existing house with the exception of the new entrance door and the addition. The existing window surround shall remain. The proposed windows should be recessed, and if muttons are used, they should be placed on the face of the windows. Should the board approve the project, language used as a draft record of decision is attached that I can go over it later if you'd like. And this concludes my presentation. If there is any question, I'm here to answer.
My question to you would be, what you're saying is the windows on the perspective is the correct rather than what's on the elevation. Okay. All right. Any other question? Anything? Okay.
I have a few
Yes.
questions.
Go ahead.
Coming back to the windows, if those are the types of windows on the perspective we're looking at, the design if you look at the north elevation, you have a thin line. Is it what type? The south elevation design and the north elevation window design looks a little bit different. There's no frame, or there's a thin line. We don't know if that's a casement window or what types of windows we're looking at.
Well, it's shown as casement on this elevation. Well, this is not. On this elevation, it's shown as casement, or it could be sliding. But they need to be corrected and
Oh.
clarified. But I'm sure the architect can
They will
further
correct
explain
it.
this.
We can go ahead and ask the architect.
And I have one more question to the architect.
We haven't opened, so once we open it, they'll present it, and then we can go ahead and ask our questions.
Okay.
So if there's any zoning questions, we can go ahead and ask the planner. We're okay with the zoning questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, we have only
my
one
first
card. Edward or Dukhanian?
It'll make sense.
Yeah, it'll take some time.
Good evening to the board and welcome to Monsieur Jean-Pierre. I'm presenting the project as the case planner said is 796 square foot addition to the 1,044 square feet of the existing house. Answer to your question regarding the windows, we had a few times back and forth regarding this design. The owner is here, and I've been told previously, which I can come with two design. And I present two design to the case planner, but I will see there is just one presentation. The original design, which the owner would like, it's something like this. That means instead of flat roof on top of the entrance, it's a gable roof. But with respect to the city planners,
Can I see that?
yeah, as a respect to the city planners.
Well, you need to speak in the mic so they can't hear you.
Yeah. We had to change the roof on top of the entrance, but also I would like to present both projects to the board. And answer to your question, on the previous, the beginning, the windows were sliding, and existing windows of the house, especially on the north elevation, is existing. And there are sliding vinyl windows.
When you say we're presenting both projects, which one are we
The same
going-
project with the two different design.
So you want us to pick which one it is? Is that what you're saying?
I would like to owner has a choice to see. He liked the gable roof on top of the entrance.
Well, is this what you would call option number 2?
Yes,
And
correct. Yeah.
if I may address staff, Alan, we didn't get option number 2 in our packet, so I only have, so that's the first time. Okay.
We can only
Actually, maybe the case planner can clarify that. I believe initially, and Jale, correct me if I'm wrong, initially the project came with the design you're just seeing now, and through consultation with planning staff, we suggested the roof design that you're now seeing on the perspective.
That's correct. And the applicant wanted both options, but the rules allows us to bring one option to the board. And I mentioned to them that if they like to present the other option, they can do it.
Okay.
And yeah, about the windows, originally we designed the windows as a sliding glass windows, dual glazed vinyl, which is matching to the existing windows on the house. But the case planner asked us to come up with a hung window.
Oh, what window?
Hung
Window.
window. And that's what on the perspective, which we corrected, you see the hung windows.
So
Not the
now
color dime.
end
The
up
perspective
having-
is a hung window.
Now you end up having both sliders and hung windows in the house.
Right now, we have just sliding.
Right, but when
we change, the
You change
front
it
and
to-
the side should be hung window.
okay.
Will they change the slider by permit? Do you know?
Owner bought the house in 1999 with the vinyl windows.
Do you know if there was a
And
permit? on-
actually, that's why, assuming
I
that
haven't-
existing, whatever I see, it's a vinyl window.
Yeah. Sometimes it's changed without permit, so it wouldn't have been reviewed.
We have so many cases like
Yeah.
that, yeah, definitely. But this is the case right now, and as I see, it's vinyl window.
So
and-
what's there now, right now, is vinyl windows.
Yes.
So you're going to go without the dividers.
Yes.
So if what I'm hearing right is if you're removing the dividers from the windows, that means you're going to replace all the windows.
Actually, as far as we're going to change the front windows and the side addition, there is not that many windows it's going to left. There's just the back windows, which it's just a kitchen window and one bedroom window.
But you're not showing dividers and everything, so I'm just wondering.
That windows, they don't have divider. The back windows in the back of the house, they don't have dividers, as you see on the picture.
Yeah, dividers.
They do.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do have, the whole house is,
Yeah, the whole house is dividers.
And yeah, it's going to be without the dividers, definitely.
So that means you're replacing all the windows.
Yes. Yeah, and also the windows are white, doesn't go with the color. We're changing it to the tan color.
Okay. Okay,
the rest of the things
and any idea what you're going to be doing with the AC unit that you have on the roof?
AC unit, yeah, because that portion of the roof, it will be touched for the addition, and it's going to be a separate unit in the back of the property.
So it needs
Yeah,
to
the
get
condenser
removed.
is gonna be
It has to come down from the.
Yeah, it will be removed.
Okay. Okay.
I just have one more question
yes.
with it. The only really question I had on the massing wise is how that entry was done and the cricket that you're putting down the center of the house for the addition over the entry that's making the entryway,
Okay,
the flat roof section.
yeah.
On the one option you had down here, it looks like you were taking the gable up to incorporate the front door in that option. I think everything about it, I don't have really a problem with design other than the fact that I think when you're standing close to the front door, you're really going to see it valley in right at the center where you would want sort of the opposite to happen. And I just think it sort of gets weak right near the front door. It's so thin and minimal. And I was wondering, was there something that came up in the discussion about if that one right-hand gable was larger? Was that something that happened during discussion or not? Or was that ever brought up and talked about?
I must say that from the very start, I was not involved with the project, but so I don't
Okay,
know
okay.
whether.
do you have any sections cut through that entrance area?
No, not in this moment.
Because it's going to be pretty far. I mean, it's going to go like that.
Is it going to be, what's the slope on that center over here?
It's
Well,
probably it's going to be quarter of an inch per foot. Yeah, because it's going to be flat as far
It's
as.
gonna be flat?
Yeah, it's flat. That area is going to be flat.
Did you investigate if you, I mean,
That's this option,
did you have any, was this,
where it's bringing it over to the front.
Well,
That's
there's no
the
other
first
choice.
Yeah.
With addition, we're going to create a valley over there, and the best way to get rid of the water to complete there, we have to come up with a flat roof.
did you had the chance, like, investigate if you mirror that in order, in order to avoid that flatness over the entrance, I'd rather see it in the back, and then you have a much cleaner roof design in the front. I don't know if you had the chance to.
On the design is on the desk, as you see, if it's a gable roof, then we illuminating that flatness.
Not a gable, what I meant. If you mirror this, if you had a cleaner roof here and then you had the flat, whatever, I'm not.
No, because we're trying to save as much as the existing structure is.
I think the cross gable is existing in the back.
Is
The
it?
roof framing in the back is.
Yeah, if we touch the roof, the structure, then we're changing more than 50% of the house. Then we have to comply with the new zoning code, and definitely the setbacks is not going to be the way it is.
This crossing gable, I think, is existing right here.
I don't know. It looks like he's raising it.
That's behind the chimney on that.
It's really.
Are we done with the questions? Thank you. We don't have any more cards, then public session is closed.
Could I start, because I have, I'd like to turn to staff for a little tutorial, if I may. Your report says it's minimal traditional, so vinyl windows are appropriate, or, for this project. But just review for me where wood windows are suggested, encouraged overall in our city planning.
Well, we would rather, but there is nowhere, as far as I know, that we are specifically asking that wood has to be.
Right, but we encourage it in some designs.
Yes, we do. Like, I guess, more like a ranch style,
Okay.
Mediterranean, Spanish. Those are more likely for us to insist on wood or wood-clad type of windows.
Okay, but wood-clad is an option in this project.
Well, the applicant is not,
It is not his intention.
no, it's not his
Okay.
intention. No.
And if I may, the board can, of course, disagree with staff at any time, as you have been known to do. What we offer is to analyze what is being proposed, and in this case, vinyl was proposed because of the recommended wood trims and the condition that the windows be recessed, the trims be wood, an analysis of the surrounding neighborhood. We thought that the vinyl would fit with the particular project on this particular street. If the board disagrees with us, of course, you can ask for another type of window. We're typically not recommending wood windows. We find that even though we think wood windows are great, and maintaining existing wood windows and sealing them is sometimes the best option, we find that applicants often would think that maintenance of an existing wood window or a new window is something that they would not want to invest in. And so we are typically encouraging options such as fiberglass, for instance, which can be painted to look more like wood, or on a project like this, an aluminum window if vinyl is not appropriate.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both.
I guess you're...
Got my little tutorial. There's only one item on the agenda, so I thought...
Okay. Would you like to go ahead and comment on the project, or?
Well, I want to look closer. I'm a little confused, and I don't want to reopen it, but maybe my fellow board members, which is the design that the applicant actually prefers?
They prefer this one,
Okay.
but I think the staff prefers the one that has been presented. So I think that's from my understanding of what I learned.
That's correct.
Yes, okay.
Okay. Those are my questions. Now I'll be an interested listener.
Okay.
I think there's two aspects, and then maybe they're conflicting or not addressed. There's a window issue, and then there's kind of the entry roof issue. And I think they might be looking at their one option because of the window change out, not necessarily because of the roof option, or maybe not. I think I don't really have a problem with the project, but I do think it's unfortunate the way that whole thing just kind of disappears right towards the center where you'd think there would be more emphasis. So I was thinking of an option that's more like their second option is in terms of the roof structure, of the massing of the roof. Second issue, and again, I'm not sure which aspect was more important on their option, but I think the original application, was probably stronger. It could be embellished a little bit more because the sort of XOX windows, that's a living room space. It would be nice if that sort of had a larger window, the left-hand one, to maybe differentiate it from the bedroom on the right-hand side. So I'd like to see a little bit of interest or importance from one to another rather than sort of uniformity of all those windows across the front. I think they would add interest. But I mean, we could talk about that. But my preference would be to do something where we maybe emphasize one window set and the other two fall back a little bit. But I do think it would be nice if the roof form incorporated the entry as their second option does, as opposed to the way it was proposed. So I think you could do what they proposed if the horizontal element was thicker, possibly. And I would probably take the cricket up to the existing ridge to give it as much mass as possible, rather than keeping it a low. They've got the cricket really low, like whatever the minimum would be for a flat roof.
I see.
But if you took the cricket up high to the existing ridge, or at least to the right-hand ridge, so what's going to happen is if they do the second option, where the roof goes all the way to the left of the door, the ridge then goes up to the existing ridge line and back. And then you could do a much taller cricket down to the front door if you had to, which I think would help connect the two sides together better. But if you didn't do the change of roof, then I'd at least make the cricket go up to the right-hand ridge, again, to give it as much pass possible.
Flat.
Right, increase the pitch on that so it matched.
So it would
So
go
at least
up
came
to
up,
there?
yeah, at least came up to there, to give it a
Wow.
little more importance. As a way of tying the two elements together.
I think they need,
But I think that's the weak part of it. You have that one piece sitting on the side. I think it would be more obvious if you were standing 10 feet away and you were looking at it, and you'd see how it valleyed right in the center like that. But I thought
the
so.
elevation looks right, but actually it's not going to look like the elevation.
Yeah, it's going to valley like crazy as you
It's
come up.
not going to look right. It's going to look flat and low ceiling. And I don't have a problem with the windows. I mean, the area was supported, with the materials and all that. The roof, that flat roof, even option one doesn't, it's like a big valley in the middle. It's going to pile up with rain, and it's not a good. I still think that the architect needs maybe spend a little bit more time on section to investigate that flat roof, if we could come up maybe with a different design. I'd rather see the flat in the back. If he's going to go a little bit further investigating that design, I'd rather see it in the back and away from the front street view. And probably by doing that, we might end up with a better entrance and a higher ceiling even. It's how long is it from here? It's about
Maybe
9,
about
10,
15
4,
feet.
15, yeah. 15 feet. That's a big span.
About 1 and 12, you're going up about 15 inches, almost,
I don't know how it's
So
physics.
this whole section, this gable, could have come off of here.
Exactly.
And
That's
there could be a cricket right here that goes to the side. So then you'd be showing this one big gable, which is the paired gable. Then you would have this plane coming across that then you could extend out for the porch if you wanted to. I think it would make a stronger facade. But,
I think it would be much cleaner.
But I don't necessarily have a problem with what's there. I just think it, depending on how far you want to go in.
Okay, a couple of things. My first question, what's the minimum width of the driveway?
10 foot.
Is it 10 or
10
9?
if it is, if it doesn't include, actually in this case it can be 9 because the walkway is separate from the driveway.
First, on the site plan, I think one of the biggest emphasis in the house, the existing house, it's this large buffer between the two homes that they have. What they've done is, and actually one of the photos that they've submitted has the identical result of what they're going to end up having. We don't have a clear direction on how they're going to address the fencing of this. So I don't know if there's going to be actually a fence put up here, or is it going to be a wood fence, masonry, or whatever it is. But whatever the case may be, I think we definitely want to reduce the width of this. It's not existing. It says 10-foot existing. It's not an existing driveway. So I think we want to definitely go to as minimum as possible to be able to provide some sort of a landscape buffer there. Be able to either some growing vines or something to cover that fence to be able to have that. I don't have a problem with the addition, but I think the driveway, and I think it's a really good point to carry this along. So I think that's definitely, I would support that. Second thing is, I think the windows, they already are, based on the architect, they are going to be replacing their windows. So if they are going to replace it, so I would rather go with more of a higher quality than vinyl windows. So I would prefer to go one notch higher and go to a fiberglass and be able to have the option, and not only the painting option, but also the depth and the entire structure, how it's put together. I think you have a much better depth and quality that you would want to have. I would want to see the same details that are there now, the wooden sill that it's there, that is like, extended out with the lighter frame around it, rather than putting this Mediterranean, all around. So I think that sill detail that it's there now, I think that should be carried over. There's a couple other things, like for example, I think up here brought this up about the bay window. I think it's not just simply showing a bay window. The bay window itself is going to have, if this thing is the way it's drawn that they're going to build this thing's going to need a roof on that. So I think the drawings need to be drawn accurately so to show us the proper detail. But overall, I don't have a problem with the project, but I think the double hung versus the slides, and if the windows are going to get replaced, might as well keep them all consistent. Have one type of window. So that's what I would recommend. As far as the elevations, I don't have a problem with either suggestions. I think this is fine also, but I think this section or this sketch that it's drawn, it's almost impossible to build. You cannot do this having a cantilever out about 4 feet without any support. So you're going to have a beam coming out of there. You're probably going to end up having a post there, some sort of a column to carry this cantilever out. So you're going to have some sort of a structure there that it will actually add more, detail and character to this. I don't think you can put 2 next to each other without having either a ridge beam or a ridge board. So I think you're going to end up having some sort of a support in the middle to carry the centerpiece out. So I think by the time you truly build this correctly and draw this correctly, I think you're going to end up having a much substantial, much better detailed front elevation. But you're still going to have that flat plane similar to what you have here. Even if you carry this, you're still going to have these 2 roofs coming to one point, and you still need to carry some sort of a flat roof that will split and carry the water down. You cannot have that. So my colleague's suggestion to take this and put it like that and put this flat area in the middle, that's another option. But I think I prefer this better because truly this is not drawn properly. And if this is drawn properly, you're going to have almost about a foot and a half of flat area. And being at 1 and 12, you're going to have a torch down roof rather than a whatever it is. So you're going to see this blotches of asphalt, that it's been, and you're going to be able to see that.
It's not going to look right.
It's not going to look right. So you want to hide this front as much as possible, or extend the parapet or this fascia board as high as you can to be able to cover that roof beyond. But the way that is drawn, it's not going to look like that. It's drawn very nicely, but in actuality, when it gets built, it's not going to do that. So I think either this solution or the solution that you guys came up with, I think that would definitely give a little bit more character on that. As far as the stone down the bottom, I think it's fine. But I would highly recommend going into a fiberglass and some sort of a more of a higher quality window sill and window detailing that would actually work with this. I mean, if they said that they weren't going to change it, then I would say, okay, just keep the whole thing and match it, and then, let's go with fiberglass in the front so that at least we can paint it and bring it to, and keep the rest the same. But they said that they are going to be replacing all the muttons and you can't remove existing muttons without removing the entire window. So if you remove it, replace it with a better quality window, I would suggest.
You have no preferences as to double, single hung, or sliding, or placement?
I don't have a preference. I would like to have the dividers the way that the way that it's there now. I think it goes with the character of the house, to kind of maintain the nice woodland feel of the neighborhood, and keeping it one single pane without any breakups in the window. It's more of a modern look, and more of a it's kind of going outside of this traditional look that the existing house and the adjacent homes have. But I would want the whole thing to be consistent. That's what I would suggest. So either slider or double hung,
I think in reality, what's nice about the double hung is it adds a little bit of interest beyond the slider. I think it would look too modern if it was the sliders, I think, on the front especially. It could be that they do just the dividers in the front possibly, which happens a lot on the older homes, and towards the back, if they didn't want to have dividers, not do them in back. I'd be open to that. I think the fact that it's done so nicely now, all those dividers, it's unfortunate that it would change to something that would be less.
The other thing is that I would suggest once they come back, I want them to locate where they're going to put their, as Mr. James would always say, their trash and recycle area, and have a specific space for that, and also where their AC unit is going to be located. It can't go in the side yards or the front yard, or they obviously they haven't left anything on the driveway side, so everything's going to be in the backyard. So I would like that to be specified on the plans. One thing that I've also noticed was there was no, they did not address any kind of a gate or anything. They have this double gate right now, a chain link gate. So I'm not sure. My recommendation would be is if they're going to close that off, the driveway, whatever they do with the fence that is coming, my recommendation would be is to match that so that it's consistent, it's nice and consistent with the wall or the fence they're going to be putting in.
You're talking about the fence between the two properties?
No, the fence or yes, fence between the east property, in between the east property lines.
Right. You suggested that they have some landscaping. Would that be sufficient?
Well, it's up to them. I mean,
Right.
I don't think it's a requirement to have a fence between the two properties. But I think, having a landscape along the side, along that area, rather than bringing the concrete all the way up to the existing garage, the detached garage, I don't think that's nice, because I think the luxury that they have right now and the neighbors are enjoying is that the nice, lush landscape that divides the two properties, and taking over that entire area and then having just a concrete, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. The width is there. We're not asking for any variances or anything, so I think 9 foot is fine, and having a foot of some sort of a greenery or something there should be sufficient enough. But these are just my thoughts, but my colleagues are going to make the decision, and they need to agree. So.
I hear some conditions. Are we heading towards a resubmittal with redesign? Is that what kind of a motion are we looking for?
The only way it wouldn't be is if we were comfortable with something like that with notations for staff. I don't know how the board feels. You comfortable enough?
I just want to make something clear. It's always difficult when we get two options,
Yeah.
right? You know, the difficulty is when we get two options, it's just a matter of making the decision and designing and going with it. Always, it's better to have one option and just go with that. So having two different solutions in front of us and making that work, and it's just very difficult.
Yes, and now I'm persuaded now because on this board I am the one with the least architectural ability, and if I'm straining to look at two designs, I think maybe we should see the full plans and renderings of the project.
If I may,
Yes.
There seem to be 2 points of discussion: the roof and the windows. There were some suggestions about the driveway and landscaping, which we'll read back to you. Because if you decide to do a return for redesign or approve with conditions, in either case, we'll need to be clear on what your decision is. So if we could maybe walk through some of the options that you've discussed.
Okay.
On the roof, the option that has been presented that was in your packet, the board seems to be in agreement that that is not really acceptable because what's shown is not really what will be there. The applicant doesn't want to actually build that option anyway. So the two options that have been discussed as acceptable is something similar to what the applicant has brought in with the gable in the center at the entry. There was some discussion about how such a cantilever portion of that gable is really not feasible, and it will also never look that way.
I think what that option is really that the right-hand gable incorporates the door as opposed to stopping before the door. For me, that's the major part of that other option.
Okay,
He's just
so,
expressing that to do the porch roof, by the time you
so
signed it out, it would be more embellished.
So the option would be actually quite different than what has been proposed, but rather than a flat roof.
3 options, how about that?
Okay, if no. Let us just get clear on what the board is recommending, so that maybe there is a possibility that it can be approved with conditions.
Okay.
The gable, as you look at the front on the right-hand side, could be modified to just simply incorporate the entry and not have its own small gable in front. That is what Board Member Gallegos is offering, I think. Or there was some discussion about turning that whole volume around to 90 degrees so that as you looked at, I'm going to assume north is up, and the east side of the house would have a double gable in appearance, and the front would be a single gable, and at the front you'd have the side-facing gable.
Can I draw on this?
Um,
Can I draw? Is this your own copy?
That second option would make it look like the south elevation. Have the same appearances.
What I'm saying is, this is fine, except he needs some supports there to carry this roof. So by the time you're done with carrying this beam that comes out to carry this gable, you need a column, you need a foundation. Even if you can do it, I don't think it'll work. I don't think it's going to be nice. If you're going to tell me that you're going to do this without those, then I don't like this. So that's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to make this. I can't have cross communication because we can't hear you. So, but that's what I'm trying to say is if we're going with this, I think it needs some sort of a support there to be able to carry this. And if he comes back and says, you know what, I can do it without any support, then I'm completely not supportive of this, because simply just having this roof there without the meats and bones and the actual structure that is supporting it, it just doesn't look right. So,
Okay,
yeah. So the only way I would support it is to actually make it look like it's...
So that if it came back in the alternate configuration that the applicant has brought in for us to review, the on that right-hand side of the small gable, that additional gable at the entry, if it had some column support or pilaster support, that could be an appropriate solution.
To me, I think if we're going with this route, it needs to be engineered, and
Right.
whatever the engineering is done,
Okay.
that would be the architecture.
Okay, that makes sense. And we heard something a little bit different from Board Member Garagos and Board Member Carter, et cetera. So if there is such a difference of opinion on how this can be resolved, then a return for redesign is obviously appropriate. If there are a number of options that we could clearly understand and the applicant can clearly understand, then it could potentially be
Well, I
approved
guess
with conditions.
it's up to us to decide which one we prefer the most. Maybe if we can, if we feel amongst us that we like two of them, then definitely it's a return for redesign. If we can kind of agree on one of the options that we all agree on, then we can just kind of hand it over to you guys and let you guys take care of the rest. So let us talk about it. Do you feel any of them more strongly than you think that?
Well, when I spent most of my time looking at option number one, but now the applicant prefers, and I think there's probably a majority on this board prefers the option number two. So with that option, I would probably concur with you that the entryway needs some support. There needs to be some there. And if we feel that we can give those instructions without seeing the redone design, I would support that. But do we think we can do that?
I would be completely in support of and would make a motion for this. And I don't know if it's too much or what, but and it's practically the same amount of work, same amount of framing. Is if you took this gable element and rotated it here, did the cricket going this way, you would have that exact elevation. That would be a true elevation because this element would then come down to the front. And I'd even like it to extend out a little bit more so that it had, a little bit of covering for the door and the column and the whole thing. It just pulls right out with that. And I think if from the front it has a massing, he could still do this California gable on it, the roof that comes across. It's practically the same amount of work, and I think it pulls the design together for me. And he can still do the front gable, So, I would be in support of, if he doesn't want to go back for redesign, I would be comfortable in supporting that, so.
I agree with both Alan and Giragos. If we decide to approve this design with the second option, we could work it out, and like Alan said, needs additional detailing to show the perspective, we'll go for it. If we're going to go with option one, which is the flat roof, I think it's not complete. That flat roof, I have problems with it. Waterproofing, the looks, the entrance going to look flat. I don't think so. It's the best solution, in my opinion. If you really want to do the proper way, I think, in my opinion, is to go what Mr. Giragos is saying, flip it, have a clean elevation, and the entrance will have a more dominant elevation, and then leave it in the back, hidden from the street view. I think that's the proper way.
Are we clear how this thing is going to look? I don't think the staff is
So if
Can I draw on the plan?
I can sketch it out.
if we flip the gable so that it's perpendicular to the street, then we would.
still going to have that elevation.
You'll have that elevation, but what is possible,
Do you see what
You'll
he's
see that, you'll have that elevation on the side.
because this is the cross gable right here.
You'll still have it on the
You'd
front.
have that elevation, but you wouldn't have the front-facing
Oh, you will
gable
have it.
at the street. How?
Imagine that front facing is California'd over.
Okay, so the gable would be added onto it. And then the side elevation would be essentially two gables next to each other without a flat piece in the center.
And it's hidden there.
Then the cricket is hidden because the gable is now there. That's the gable going sideways, and the cricket is hidden now behind this.
I'd rather have this if you're going to go with the flat roof, I'd rather have that flat roof in the center, which is not visual from the street, and you have a much cleaner roofing system. And you have
that elevation.
and also by doing that, will give you a higher ceiling at the entrance. You'll have a better design interior-wise.
So then, this gable is just this dimension?
It's like this.
That's a California gable.
Yeah, this,
Okay,
this one.
that's
Make a marker.
just to here, and it goes to the ridge.
Yeah, well, it's, oh, so
So
Wait,
then,
no.
what you're saying...
This is just a
no,
California. It's a California.
there you go.
There you go.
Here we go.
Right. This is sloping down. Sloping down. This is sloping down. That's sloping down. And then the cricket is back in here, flowing that way. This is sloping down.
I think it will look much cleaner.
Yeah. And then you can even extend the rafters out a little bit here, put a column. Nice porch, very nice porch.
So then this,
Right.
and this one.
This is the
So
ridge.
here
This is the
you'd
ridge.
have essentially two gables
Right.
next to each other,
Right.
like this.
Right.
Also, I mean, like, the living room window could be larger too. If, I think it'll make a difference to symbolize the,
Okay, so it looks like we have two options for the roof. Do you want to have the two options for the roof, and then we can work with the applicant and the owner, and they can decide, because I think now we have a clear understanding of what those two options are. Now, if you want to say one over the other, we can.
I'm fine with either.
Okay.
It's up to them. I'm not making the motion.
Then if
Two other items, just to, I gotta say this thing. They set the window off in the bedroom, so that means they really don't care about where the window sits in the bedroom. So if that's the case, if they're okay, this is a suggestion, I would move this over so that it's centered. This window is centered with the ridge. Also the front entry door, rather than being just a very, off the shelf, just spend the time and look for a quality door that looks and works with the architecture.
Okay, so a quality door in this case would be a solid wood door, a simple
Well,
solid
I wouldn't
wood
say
or fiberglass door.
Obviously, it's up to them, what type of door they want, but I'm just saying, the material, the make of the material, whatever they want to buy, I'm okay with. There are some aluminum ones out there that looks just as fine, but I'm saying pick a door that works with the architecture, not just off the shelf from Home Depot and put something there.
Okay, so with this style, we would assume that means a very simple door, maybe a couple of panels if they want to have some lights in it, but that it has to work with the architecture, and it could be aluminum, fiberglass, or wood,
Up to them,
but we would have to review the design of the door.
Well, I'm sure they'll bring it in when they're bringing it
Well,
out.
that would have to be a condition, so that we would make sure to track that. If it's a condition, or if you wanted it to be a consideration, then we would probably track it less closely.
And the windows, I guess, need to be addressed. I'm in support of the Chairman Malikian's upgraded fiberglass with dividers, at least. And then you say, well, where should they be? They should certainly be on the front, and then I wonder the east and west. I mean, the only place it would be in the back. I guess that's the north, where I wouldn't care about dividers. Or
Okay, so are we talking about, because there was a discussion about double hung versus slider, are we assuming that the operable windows are double or single hung, rather than slider windows or slider windows with divided lights that have exterior muntins.
If it's a slider or a casement, it needs divided lights to add interest.
Okay.
If it's a single
Yeah.
hung, it could get away.
Actually, my point was Mike's original statement, that the window case could actually be an interesting detail. I mean, it's a modest house. It's not a big development. And I think that the windows, at least in the front, are a place for some detail.
So the windows could be either sliders or single or double hung, but we want to see exterior muntins on the front and sides of the house and have that as an option at the rear of the house.
Yes.
And that they would be conditioned to be fiberglass rather than vinyl.
I didn't have that requirement, but it's.
I mean, it's going to be your motion or your
Well, I'll make,
motion.
actually, the modification I make to the motion is, I'm not comfortable. I mean, I think what we came up with is about the similar amount of work, and I think it's a much stronger option than even their second option. So if I'm making the motion for something that doesn't have to come back for redesign, it's with that roof, and I don't have a problem with the vinyl, personally. I would make the caveats that if it was single hung, you could probably do without the divided lights. If it was a casement or slider, it would definitely need the divided lights. That window, that's the living room window, I think has to be embellished more than the others to show emphasis to it, because it's,
In these houses, typically what we would see if
what I meant by embellished is really just XOX, not just the dual, not just a pair,
okay, because sometimes we would just see one large fixed window.
which would be fine.
So, okay, so not a pair of windows, but at the living room, one large fixed window or one fixed window in the center with two operable windows on the side.
Yeah.
Not everybody knows what you mean with XOX, so I'm doing the longhand version.
And larger window.
Larger windows at the living room.
Yeah. A way of differentiating it from the bedroom. That would be my motion, so if you don't like it, nobody second it.
If we can clarify also a couple of other items that were mentioned, that the driveway should be as narrow as possible while complying as code allows, because we believe that the code is 9 feet, and that would allow for 1 foot of a landscape buffer at the property line. So that is also a condition. That the California driveway type move up, that's also a condition. That the placement of the windows be associated with the gables and centered on the gables as much as possible. Now we understand the whole roof will now be configured, so we probably want to write the condition something like place all the windows carefully with consideration to the new roof form. And the surrounds on the windows, we heard from some of you that the surrounds the way they're shown are okay. Others said, no, just the sill and not the window surround all the way. So if we can get clarity on that.
Mine would be that it as closely resemble existing conditions, either wood sill or something rather than a large surround.
Okay, that actually makes it very clear to us, as close to existing as possible, with a sill that extends beyond the dimension of the window.
I agree too.
Did we get all of it?
Sounds good to me.
I think so. There is a motion. I will second that motion.
If I may ask for a point of clarification, please. I understand with the front door, you don't want to prescribe exactly what it should be made of or what it should look like. You did mention that there were some doors that you wouldn't be happy with. If you could perhaps elucidate the qualities that you would like to avoid, it might be easier than
I'm more
saying what
interested
they
in
look
the
like.
look. I'm not, it's up to them. They want to spend more money on the solid door, or they want to, because I've seen some incredible aluminum doors that I was just blown away. And when they told me it's an aluminum door, I couldn't tell the difference between that and the solid door. So as long as the look is right, it's up to them.
I guess I'm trying to tease out what is the look is right.
And the look is whatever they, something that, there's many list of different styles of doors that are out there. I'm not going to sit there and design it for them, obviously, but it's something that is appropriate. If they're going to bring it, I'll let you guys make that decision if it's appropriate
Yeah, be
or not.
consistent with the minimalist
It's just
traditional style.
being consistent.
Consistent.
So
Very
Simple.
We sometimes have long and continuing arguments with applicants after a board as to what constitutes a quality.
I'll say this on my motion. It's not going to be a stained wood door. How about that? It won't be a stained wood door. It'll be a painted door. If that-
Okay, it'll be a painted door, and it won't have, for instance, and we won't put this in the condition, it won't have a lozenge-shaped glass opening with a lot of ironwork.
Right.
It will be a simple
more
door,
of a square,
a square rectilinear pattern,
arched and so forth.
something that has, if it's not just a simple solid door, if it has panelization, it should be a three-dimensional panelization. So that kind of language does help us. And I think there were a couple of things that we do also want to add. Location of the trash enclosure, location of air conditioning. I think you were all fine with the stone base, and there were no additional considerations on the landscaping. But the bay window, there was discussion how the drawing is incorrect on or not consistent on the bay window. So what the elevation seems to be showing is a pre-manufactured pop-out. What the plan is showing is more of a bay window, and you're looking for more of the plan version that would have a roof over it.
Right.
Okay, so we'll go with the plan version that would make sure that it's part of the architectural construction, not a prefabricated.
If they are doing a prefabricated, I mean, if one of those that has glass on all sides, then let that be drawn properly so that they can bring it and show it to you. Whatever they're deciding on, let it match the window system.
Okay, so
But it really doesn't have to have a full structure and then having whatever they want to decide on.
Okay, so if they wanted to do just that pop-out as indication on the elevations, that would be fine as long as it were compatible with all of the other window systems. If it were a bay window that was included in the architectural structure, it does need to be drawn correctly.
Right.
Great.
I have one more question, sorry. Where the stone is, the cap, the band, what is it made of? Is it foam or is it stone? I'm not clear about the band above the...
It's natural stone.
Okay. As long as it's natural stone.
So we'll make that a condition as well, just so,
You don't see that foam.
yes,
stucco.
so that the cap is natural stone.
Actually, there was also discussion about, I believe, the gate across the driveway. Was that resolved?
That was just a suggestion. It was nothing. I mean, right now they have these double chain link gates that open up. So I said if they're going to go with the fence, might as well let them match it with the fence and put whatever they want to do. Let it be consistent rather than the chain link fence.
Okay, so that's consideration, condition?
Consideration is consideration. Okay. So Jean-Pierre, so Mike made the motion. You have the option of
Motion
I
to
think-
approve
Mr. Carter seconded.
with this roof?
With that roof only.
With this roof only?
Right.
So if you agree on that, well, Mr. Carter seconded. So you have the option of, saying yes or no, or if you like that, then so. Second,
Yes, I motion with that roof.
So, well, there's already
It's
there's
moved
a
in motion.
You moved it, so you don't need to
The motion that I second was for that roof,
So we already have a second.
with the conditions that we enumerated.
If you
Just wait for the
agree,
vote.
so
Now there's
wait
a roll
until the
call.
roll call, and then once
Yes,
we do the
roll call. The motion to approve with condition was made by Mr. Gregos and Mr. Carter. Second, this is roll call. Board Member Carter,
Yes.
Board Member Buladian,
Yes.
Board Member Gregos,
Yes.
Chairman Malikian.
Yes.
Motion passes by 4-0. Thank you.
Okay, we have 2 sets of minutes to try to approve tonight.
Okay, have you guys, I
We get
did not,
those?
I did not receive this.
They weren't in the packet, I'm opening.
No, they were
email?
about a week or
You get
so
them? I
ago.
don't know if I got them.
Do you guys,
Why don't we postpone that to the next meeting?
let's postpone it. Can you resend it again?
Sure.
please?
I got it.
Just email
To
it.
be honest, I don't know if I did. I could have.
You'll find it.
Okay.
It's
We'll just
fairly
public-
important because the February 12th is fairly important. I want to make sure that we have everything that we talked about.
We'll just send it out again for
That's the foothill
approval
project,
next
so I want to
time.
make.
And I will keep this hard copy, too. Okay?
Oh,
Oh, so you got it.
You're the only
Well,
one
then
who
it
got
must have
this.
gone out. I didn't get it.
Well, yeah, it was in my
I
book.
think he's tattling on you.
Did we acknowledge the letter on the previous, this project that we just noticed? Did anybody acknowledge that we did receive a letter? So I just wanted to acknowledge that we received the
Right, from,
Verdugo Woodlands West
right.
Association.
Right.
Okay.
I think we addressed the issues. Of that.
Yeah.
Okay, any more questions or concerns or anything?
What are we under? Staff and board business? Is that an item?
yes, we are actually.
I spoke this week with Stephanie. I happened to attend a city council session last week where one of our projects was appealed.
Okay.
And it was reversed.
Okay.
So I just want to make note of that. And some of the thoughts, you should, if you want to review that council session to see what massing and compatibility were their main talking points. Okay? So I will see that project again.
Not to expand more, but can you talk about the one, did they go over the one issue about the detached garage? Did they address that? Is there a way you can thumbnail it or not?
Because the item is not agendized, we would really refrain.
I thought we were just briefing what happened.
Yeah, because it's not agendized, we
Okay.
really need to refrain from much lengthy discussion on it. The meeting was held on
It wasn't so much for that particular project, it was just an understanding about that idea.
that.
The idea of a detached.
Yeah, that is a matter that if you do view the tape, planning staff talked about an interpretation that's very clear to us. There's still some disagreement on that point. So you will. I hope you enjoy watching that meeting.
Very good.
Thank you.
Well, just for you, I didn't get a chance to welcome our new board member. This is a little taste.
I
Very
made it through.
exciting meeting coming up.